ECU, do you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on this Wednesday, October 16th edition of the program. We are live streaming. If you're watching on Thursday morning at 9:30, we're live streaming on
Wednesday.
Did I say Thursday?
Yeah.
Thank
I think
you.
It's Wednesday. I don't know. My days are mixed up.
It is
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
We got a lot going on today. Full disclosure, we're recording a Friday show on Wednesday because I'll be traveling to New York. So a lot going on. We got press conferences, multiple shows. It is Wednesday. You are correct. Wednesday, October 16th. We are live streaming. That is the voice of Philip Pilkington. Philip, how you doing on this day?
I'm good. I'm kind of like you. Head's a little spinning. We got a lot going on, but we're going to get through it. We're going to push through. We're going to have a great day.
No doubt. And if you're with us live streaming, we're going to talk to Kevin Monroe, obviously, in a little bit. The other thing is, Philip, I'm trying to tweet out these live links, and I try to multitask. Sometimes that messes me up. But either way, if you got a comment, question, concern, drop it on YouTube, Facebook, X on this Wednesday show. We'll get to it. We're going to talk to Kevin Monroe here shortly, as we do every Wednesday morning. But a lot to get to. We've got press conferences with John David Baker, with Blake Carroll. We're at the halfway point in the season. We didn't get the chance to talk to them last week, so looking forward to seeing what they have to say as we kind of, reach this big point in the season, going to undefeated Army. How does ECU respond after the loss of Charlotte? So a lot to do today and a lot to discuss. Kevin Monroe will join us next segment. All right, Philip Pilkington, we always kind of get a little bit of a vibe check on Wednesday. How are you feeling about this Army game? We've discussed it now, it feels like, for a while, but definitely longer than normal due to the bye. What's your overall gut as we sit here, 72 hours plus away from kickoff?
I feel solid about it. We've talked about it with Coach, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again today with Coach Harold, that this is not the veer triple option that we've seen in the past, but it is kind of a form of it, and it's a form of that old school wing T offense. And, the frustrating thing in my time here, and Coach Houston has alluded to this, is that Navy always gets a bye before they play ECU. And later this year, Navy will also get a bye before they play ECU. Well, Army didn't have a bye, and ECU did. So the extra time of preparation makes me feel good. I think that players-only meeting that we heard about makes me feel good. It lets you know the senior leaders are still very much bought into what the coaching staff is trying to do and what the team is trying to do as a whole. And I think we're going to see a new team on Saturday.
I feel pretty good about it as well, and we'll make our picks obviously on Friday's show, which we're recording later today. Spoiler alert: I'm going to have ECU covering the spread. It's at 16 as of this morning. I think the Pirates will hang around. My only concern is, do they hang around and then does Army run away late? I think this is a game that, the start of it is going to be crucial because we just don't know. We don't know, Philip, how Army is going to respond if ECU is able to get a lead, or if ECU is able to make it a game going into halftime. I mean, really, none of their games have been particularly close at halftime. FAU game was a little close on the scoreboard, but really they dominated that contest. Tulsa was the one game where it was 14-7 late in the first half. Army, which deferred or did not get the ball first, went on a long scoring drive, hit a big pass before the half, and took a 21-7 lead in the half. And then they scored on the opening possession in the second half, and all of a sudden it was 28-7. The game was over. They ended up winning that game 49-7. They just have not been pushed in any game. They led Rice 28-0 at halftime. FAU, they led 14-7 at half. So I guess that was probably your closest game at half. And I don't know. I mean, I think we figured out a lot about ECU clearly, and that's going to be our angle. But Army as well. I'll read some of Jeff Monken's comments from yesterday's press conference here in a minute. But they haven't been tested. We know they're really good, Philip, but just I want to see them respond to some sort of adversity. Not that the Army can't respond to adversity. I mean, literally, that's what they're trained to do. But I don't know. On the football field, it would be interesting if ECU can present that scenario.
Yeah, when you're 6-0 and it's been all sunshine and rainbows and you haven't trailed and it hasn't been close, of course, you got to see what they're going to do, but also you got to put yourself in position to give them that adversity. We don't know that it's going to happen. We sure as heck hope that it does. And like you said, they're trained too, but also it's little different training to do it out there in the field, and it's a little different training to do it in a football game. So those are two totally different scenarios. Not that they're not trained up well to do it in a football game as well. But at the end of the day, if we can get them where they're behind, they're struggling, they're in a dogfight. I mean, look, also on top of it, as bad as ECU has been according to expectations, still probably the best team Army's seen all year.
Yeah.
So
that is what Jeff Monken said in yesterday's press conference, the Army head coach. Kenny Curlin says this is a gut check game for this program. I agree. Definitely. This is a put up or shut up time. And if you go out there and you roll over after a players only meeting and everything that's been kind of said by the fan base, I think it shows you're ready to roll over and the season's over. But if you show some fight, it could change perception a little bit. But obviously a win would be the biggest change of perception. All right. So I'm going to read some of Jeff Monken's comments because, look, man, I mean, this is coach speak. And the academies do such a great job. Ken Niumatalolo used to be the same way. These coaches act like they don't have a chance going into these games. Like if you did not know the record, Phillip, you would think that ECU is undefeated and ranked and Army was 3-3. Because just like these coaches, they just act like it's such a daunting task. And I get it. That's part of the job. They got to have their team prepared. But I remember Ken Niumatalolo used to always be like, no, we're going to have to play really well and have a chance. And I just don't know if we can handle their athleticism. And then they would go out and beat ECU 76-20 or whatever. But Jeff Monken, I just could only laugh at some of his comments.
It was a great Coach Ken impersonation, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of – I mean, he just kind of mumbles, so that's what I do as well. So I guess I can make it work. All right, so I have these comments up on hoistthecolors.net, but I'll read a few of them. Jeff Monken, quote, what a week this is going to be getting prepared for a great football team. Mike Houston has done such a great job there. They're talented, well-coached, fast, physical. It's unique, really, now to be facing a head coach with so much experience against the option and a defensive coach that has so much experience against the option. One, they've played an option team in the league for several years. Side note, he didn't name them as Navy. But Mike, going back to the quote, was the head coach at a school where they ran the option, and their defensive coordinator has been the defensive coordinator at two different schools where they ran the option. They have a lot of experience. It's going to take a tremendous effort on our part to prepare both offensively and defensively, as well as special teams, to beat this really talented ECU team. He goes on to say later on, talking about ECU's 2 weeks to prepare, it certainly makes it a challenge when a team has 2 weeks, not just from a schematic standpoint, but it allows them a chance to get healthy. They've got experience playing the option and 2 weeks to get prepared. There's just a lot of catching up for us to do to match what East Carolina has been able to put together. We can't manufacture 2 weeks. We're not going to manufacture a new offense, defense, and special teams. I do love this quote. What our bread and butter is, whatever that is offensively, defensively, and special teams, that's what we have to be best at and practice those things to be as best as possible. He says gimmicks don't win football games. Great execution of the fundamentals and assignments and effort and playing physical, that's what wins football games. It kind of sounds a lot like Mike Houston in some ways, Phillip.
Sounds a lot like Mike Schwartz in some ways.
Yeah. I guess he just sounds like a coach.
Yeah, no. But, look, it's weird. You can take that one of two ways. You can take that as they're trying to go ahead and take the excuses out of it if they do lose. But then also I think it's that mindset of, we can't tell the team, tell the fans, tell ourselves that it's going to be an easy game just because ECU's coming off a tough loss to Charlotte. Like, at the end of the day, he's right. If this may be one of the more experienced staffs in the country when it comes to defending the option, knowing about the option, running the option. So, Mike Houston, because he was the more defensive-minded head coach, but he was still a head coach at a place where, they ran the option. So he knows what Army is going through week in and week out. So, when you're Army, you have to, acknowledge that and know that the teams that you faced previous 6 weeks maybe not have the experience against as you do, and yeah, you're not facing Navy this week. We don't have as much experience as they do, but it's probably the most out of any team on your schedule, coaching staff wise, until you face the midshipmen on December whatever that Saturday date is, or that Friday night date if things hold the way they are in the conference standings.
Yeah, that old Black Friday matchup versus Navy could determine for ECU what happens with Army and Navy later on in the season. So, all right, and then he goes on to say in a later quote, somebody asked him, like the reporters were kind of like following his lead, which is part of the reason why coaches do this. Obviously, they want to not shift the narrative, but they want to keep the narrative with their quotes to what they want it to be. The reporter asked, because I listened to the whole press conference, if he's more comfortable playing ECU now versus earlier in the season, if since basically his team's playing so well. And he says that basically, I don't know if it makes any difference if we played them game 1 or week 7. I know they're a hard team to play. I'd been losing sleep at night week 1 like I'm losing sleep now. I'm worried about trying to defend them, worried about how they'll defend us, their athleticism, their size, their speed, their ability to be prepared. Mike's a great coach. He's got a terrific staff. This is certainly our biggest test and toughest game of the year so far. He also, I don't have a quote, but he mentioned early in the press conference that ECU is one of the best teams in the American, which, history does not say that. But, look, he's trying to get his team prepared, Philip, and I don't blame him. And definitely you can't argue the fact that this is the best team Army has played. And, look, ECU, I think, has more talent and ability than they've shown at this point, and they're certainly better than UAB, certainly better than Temple. I think they're better than Rice. I think they're better than FAU and Lehigh, obviously. And then Tulsa, I think they're better than. So this is Army's toughest test, but we'll see just how tough of a test it is in the long run. And I always wonder with these matchups, Jeff Monken was at Georgia Southern as the head coach from 2010 to 2013. He's been at Army since 2014. He's gone 76-55 over that time. But a lot of the time, Philip, these triple option coaches, which Mike Houston was at Lenoir-Rhyne during Jeff's time at Georgia Southern, they share notes. So I do wonder, and they meet in the offseason, I do wonder if Jeff and Coach Houston have done that in the past where, I'm not saying Mike Houston remembers every detail from those meetings, but I'm sure he's picked up things from Jeff Monken over the years, and you have that dynamic too. It was the same way with Kendi Matalolo when ECU played Navy in the past.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because especially when you're a D2 coach, I'm a D1 coach, or when Mike Houston was at the Citadel, hey, you're an FCS coach, I'm an FBS coach. So you think you're not going to see each other. Well, eventually you do, because when you have success, you move up, and here they are at the FBS level, both of them in a pretty solid conference. And, you mentioned earlier him saying ECU is one of the better teams in the American. Yeah, maybe true, maybe not. But at the end of the day, if you look at their remaining teams they play, North Texas, okay, probably better than ECU. UTSA, well, we beat UTSA, so there's that. And Navy doesn't count as a conference game. So as far as the teams that are on their slate and who they care about, ECU is the second best team probably in the American, in which they will see. And like you said, to the point, Jeff Traylor has probably not had the meeting, or no, sorry, not Jeff Traylor. We discounted
Jeff
UTSA.
Monken, yeah.
No, I was going to say the North Texas coach. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Eric Morse?
Yeah, Eric Morse has not had those conversations with Jeff Monken that Mike Houston has had. So nor has Jeff Traylor, for the fact they still have to play UTSA. So, hey, he's got to know that this will be the team who's the most experienced against his style of football, and the coach that he probably has a close relationship with, therefore knows some of his tricks.
Graham on Facebook says this Army option is different. They can sling it too. He says the Army quarterback reminds me of Tebow. They throw it, but they're not throwing as much as Navy. Navy's doing a lot, for their offense. Army is still, they led UAB 28 whatever at halftime without attempting a pass. Now, they have thrown it 37 times for over 500 yards and a bunch of touchdowns. So when they do throw it, they're throwing it long, and they're having success. But Bryson Daly, he's a machine running the football, their quarterback. Cameron says, if we get blown out by Army, what do we think the attendance would be for the next home game? 25K? I think you'll get an announced attendance regardless of around 30, but actual people in the stands, Not a lot.
Well, the fact that it's homecoming will.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah. But if it wasn't homecoming, yes, I'm thinking rear ends and seats. You're looking at the 20 to 25 number. But the fact, I know plenty of people that are coming in because it's homecoming, alumni, my parents' friends that are, they're coming regardless of what happens this week. So I'm thinking it'll be closer to 30. And then if somehow you lose both of those, that FAU game on Thursday night is going to be nobody.
Having a Thursday night game and having a Black Friday game is going to be tough.
That does stink, man. That's like, who made the schedule? Sorry, I won't go on my tangent. I know we got to get to
ESPN.
I know ESPN. I know we got to get to Kevin here in a second, but John Gilbert has come on this show and said, I'm tired of playing games at home during fall break. Luckily, we didn't get it this year. And I'm tired of playing games at home Thanksgiving. When's the last time we were not at home Thanksgiving weekend? I can't tell you.
Last year they hosted Tulsa.
Yep.
The year before that,
Houston. Right? Yeah.
Actually, they were at Temple that weekend. Remember, the season finale was Temple at 22.
Oh,
so that would have been it.
Okay. Oh, so Houston was the second to last game and we got wrecked?
Yep.
Okay. And the year before that, they had Cincinnati at home on Black Friday.
Yeah.
That was with Desmond. That was good Cincinnati. So
Yeah.
3 of the last 4 years. This is junk. Come on, American.
The American and TV, they control the rights. They have the power. And sometimes it goes in ECU favor. A lot of times it does not. Let's get a break in. We will be joined by Kevin Monroe on the other side. We'll talk with the ECU color analyst and discuss his thoughts on the upcoming Army game and more. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern living's best small town.
Pirate game days, there's nothing like them. The atmosphere, the tradition, the matchups, the magical finishes. Be a part of Pirate Game Days. Season tickets are as low as $115. Reserve your seat today to be a part of the experience of Pirate Game Days at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium this fall.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
matey!
Back to the show with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the colors on this Wednesday, October 16th. We'll visit with John David Baker and Blake Carroll on Mike Houston a little bit later this morning after practice. That's why we're live streaming early. We've got our weekly chat now with Kevin Monroe, former ECU DB. He is now the color analyst on the ECU Sports Network, not the sideline reporter. Kevin, I was trying to take you back to your previous days when you first got started, but welcome back, man. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Igo. Yeah, I mean, it's been, gosh, it's my 22nd year on the network. So 19 years ago, I trolled the sidelines of East Carolina during the John Thompson era. How about that? That takes you back.
Oh, man, that was tough. Well, hey, at least during the JT era, ECU defeated one team, that was Army. This is a much different team. We'll get into the matchup a little bit, but just your thoughts on this daunting task going to face 6-0 Army this week on the road.
They look good. Army looks really, really good. I'll say their schedule has been very, very nice for this run for them. They haven't had a really tough opponent up to this point. Not that the Pirates are a top 25 opponent by any means, but it'll be interesting to see, if the Pirates can pull their defense together and get it out of the doldrums that they've been in the last game and a half or so. How Army looks with a little bit of pressure on them, a little bit of some good linebackers and a good front, coming after him. But Bryson Daly has been impressive at quarterback, and this is going to be a tall task to say the least for the Pirates.
12 noon kickoff on Saturday. It'll be East Carolina at Army on ESPN2. So I guess if there's one positive from the early season fast starts when ECU was getting up 16-0, 17-0, they did lose those games. But if they could somehow replicate that against Army, I think it would be a game changer. Obviously, if you get down by that amount against the option, it's a problem. But I don't know. How important is the start to this game, Kevin? Army has not trailed all year, so if ECU can have a good start, how much does that change things?
I think that's huge. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. When Army is behind, it changes everything about what they do. They are rushing for 300 yards a game. They want to keep the ball on the ground. They want to get 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And so if you can get up a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, and make them feel pressed to throw the ball, make them feel pressed to do some trick plays or try to find some chunk plays in their offense, some misdirection type stuff. That's not in their wheelhouse. That's not what they want to do. Although Daly has been, very efficient throwing the football this year, no interceptions, got several touchdown passes. They can get it done. It's just not what they want to do. They're not going to line up and go in shotgun, or they're not going to do drop back passes. Getting out to a 2-touchdown lead, a 16 or 17-point lead, like they have done in the past, would be not insurmountable, but it would certainly put Army backs against the wall.
Yeah, 46 passing attempts on the season for Army, 323 rushing attempts, but they've thrown more touchdowns, 7, than their opponents all year, 6, and they're averaging over 12 yards per attempt. So, I mean, they're obviously taking their shots when they get you sucked in. William Landon on YouTube says, ask Kevin how hard it is to stay honest against the pass in the secondary against an option attack like Army. So take us back. Did you ever play against the option, Kevin, or what are your thoughts on that from a secondary perspective?
I did. That was actually our 5th win in 1999. Was at Army, it was tough. And my defense coordinator Tim Rose used to always say, bring an extra chin strap for this game. You have to be playing in the run game. I would say it's a little bit difficult, more difficult for the safeties and the corners. As far as the corner is concerned, if you have a wide receiver to your side, he is your responsibility. And not until he decides to block you and you see a runner running with the football do you negate that responsibility. And so with safeties, they have their eyes in the backfield. They're seeing the fakes. They have responsibility to either fit the pitch man or the quarterback when there is a run. And so they can sometimes get lulled into that, and all of a sudden something pops behind them. But as a corner, we didn't really have that issue. I can remember Grady Jett was the wide receiver for Army that was responsible for blocking me on every play, and that tells you, how much I think about that. The fact that I still remember his name, this many years later. But yeah, it was an experience that I didn't want to repeat. But once a year to face that option, to get up there and make some tackles, but also be responsible for anything they threw deep, was challenging and a task that I relished.
You know, like you said, facing that offense and just kind of the mentality of a service academy, I think is just something you can prepare for, but until you get into the game, I think it's just tough to really understand. And how much does it help the ECU defensive players that have seen Navy now 3-4 years? Obviously, the offense is a little different from academy to academy, but they kind of know what this game is going to be like. How much does that help?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many variations of a triple option. So, yeah, they know exactly what they're going to see. Plus, Coach Blake Harrell has coached with a team that ran the triple option, and so he knows all the little things to tell them, the things to look for. The offensive line will tell you a lot when it comes to the runner pass and the triple option, how they release, how they come off the ball. And linemen like to cut a lot when they run this option to get defensive linemen on the ground so they can get downfield and avoid penetration. And so if you can notice the offensive lineman either going low to cut block or coming out hard to get downfield, you know right away it's a run play. And if you see them kind of step back in their stance, then you know it's a pass play. And so if you're disciplined enough to watch for those things, and that's something the linebackers and the safeties have time to do, then you'll be okay. It's just when you're undisciplined and you have your eyes in the wrong place and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing that you have issues. But certainly the experience of playing against Navy will help, and the experience of Coach Harrell knowing what this offense can do and what it has done will be big as well.
We're visiting with Kevin Monroe, color analyst on the ECU Sports Network. Kevin, we've been over doing interviews this week. We talked to Elijah Morris. We talked to Parker Moore, two seniors. They both said, along with Coach Houston on Monday, that there was a players-only meeting held last week. I think Tuesday was the day last week they held the meeting. When you hear that as a former player, what is that? What kind of goes through your mind? What does that say to you?
Well, I like it. Well, for one, it's because you're at desperation, right? So that's the first thing. So that's, you hate to get to a players-only meeting because it means things have gone, incredibly wrong. But I do like the fact that they're taking ownership amongst themselves to say, hey, I know that the fans are angry with the coaches and, calling for everybody's head, but we got to perform on the field as well. I can't say that every situation that's happened poorly is on the coaches. I mean, they've got to go out there and make plays. On third downs as a defender, you got to find a way to get off the field. When you have the football, you got to find a way to get first downs. There's only so many things that the coaches can do, to make you successful. But, once you're on the field, it's on you. And so for them to get together and talk it through and hold each other accountable, that's an embarrassing loss that the Pirates just came off of against Charlotte. Charlotte is not a great football team. Certainly they're better than they were a year ago. But that's not the type of – you don't want to give up 55 points to a team like that. And so I think when I hear that, I hear accountability and that they want to make change and they want to hold onus on themselves and not just put it on the coaches.
Yeah, by the time they kick the game off on Saturday, Kevin, this will be 2 weeks of basically everybody telling them how terrible they've been. You get on social media now, every ECU football post is being bashed by people on social media due to the Charlotte game. Just as a reporter covering this team, knowing some of these guys, I'd be pretty surprised if they don't play some inspired football Saturday. I don't know if that'll be good enough to win, but as a former player, also as the color analyst, what are you expecting from this team Saturday? Are you expecting at least a bounce back in terms of performance and effort, those sort of things?
I was thinking the same thing. I go, and I hate that it's this opponent because, you can't necessarily just go all out against Army. You got to play disciplined alignment assignment football. If this were UTSA or Charlotte all over again, then you could pin your ears back and just play really hard and go make tackles and be in the right position and go make blocks and do those things. But against Army, you have to be not reserved, but you have to be smart and you have to make sure that you're doing things the right way. Because if you make one mistake, the dive man goes for 50 down the middle of the field, or the quarterback turns a corner and takes off, or the pitch man goes for 60. So you have to be so disciplined in this game. But yeah, I expect to see a much different Pirate defense specifically. I think of everything that came out of this past week, I think the way the defense played was the most disappointing. I mean, we've seen the offense struggle, we've seen the turnovers, we've seen them not being able to put up a ton of points. So that's become not expected, but we've seen it happen, and we're trying to fix it. But the defense, for the most part, a couple second half they've struggled, but for the most part, since Blake Harrell's been here, they've been the one thing you can count on, especially run defense. And to see a Charlotte team rush the ball for 300-plus yards was just I mean, you couldn't even fathom it. I'd have bet my house that wouldn't have happened pregame. And so, yeah, I think that, the fact that people are down on the Pirates is understandable because they just put out a product on the field that nobody saw coming, and it was just really disappointing.
Visiting with Kevin Monroe. A few more things for Kevin. We'll get him out of here. Parker on YouTube says we better not go 3 and out at record speed like we have been. Could get ugly early. So certainly, Kevin, you got to play complementary football. Not only does the defense have to play well, but the offense has to maximize opportunities. Do you slow down the pace at all this weekend, or do you feel like ECU's offense is going to do what they've been doing the first 6 games?
I think they're going to do what they've been doing. I mean, I hate the 3 and outs too, and the fact that when you go 3 and out and you're going at breakneck speed, that means the defense has been on the sideline for about 30 seconds, and that puts it hampers them. But I don't see JDB changing. I mean, that's his style of coaching, and when it works, it's awesome, and when it doesn't work, it puts your defense in a bind. I just think that they have to find more ways to move the chains. They have to find more ways to not go 3 and out, more ways to get first downs, to open up that playbook a little bit more, to find some plays out there that they can be successful in. Army's defenses look really, really good, but a lot of that has to do with their offense just being on the field all the time. And so other teams' opponents haven't had the time of possession. They haven't had a chance to move the ball very much. And so it skews the stats a little bit. Not saying they're not good. They're good. But it skews it because the teams don't have as many opportunities. So you have to take advantage of the time that you're on the field and get those first downs and score touchdowns instead of field goals when you have the opportunity. So, yeah, I don't think they change the offense. I think you're going to see what you're going to see and just hope that they can find ways to make more plays than they've made these first several games.
And lastly for you, Kevin, I mean, ECU has not announced a starting quarterback. We kind of discussed this a little bit last week. From my vantage point and what I've heard, I think it'll be Caden Hauser. We'll find out for sure on Saturday. But if it is Hauser, we saw him in the second half against Charlotte. What do you want to see from him and just the quarterback play in general going forward, this second half of the season, not just this game?
Well, take care of the football. I think that's the most important thing. This week and a half, of extra time with the bye week hopefully has helped both quarterbacks to get on a better page with their receivers. I feel like especially Hauser when he was in, a couple footballs just kind of fell in between 2 receivers. Didn't seem like the chemistry was there. Hopefully this has given them more time to get that chemistry going. But take care of the football. You just cannot afford to give the ball back to Army because they're going to dominate the time of possession as it is just because they'll take 3 yards in a cloud of dust and just keep moving the chains. And so when you're out there, you've got to take care of the football and move the chains. So I'm hoping that the chemistry's better. I'm hoping that they've gotten the playbook to where they know some plays they can run that they can be successful in. You don't always have to take the deep shot. You can take the horizontal play if it'll get you 10 yards. I know that's not the sexiest offense, but take what you can get and keep the offense on the field. That's what I'm looking forward to.
He's Kevin Monroe, color analyst, ECU Sports Network. Always great to talk to you, Kevin, on these Wednesday shows. It's been a blast throughout the season. We'll keep it going next week, heading into homecoming against Temple, but always appreciate the time.
Appreciate that, Dago.
Absolutely. That is Kevin Monroe. Also, shout out to Marcus Monroe, his son. 8 catch, 135 yards, season high performance against Trinity Christian. He's a class of 2026 recruit. He's now got 41 catches, 642 yards, 7 touchdowns on the season. So doing big things for North Raleigh Christian Academy. We'll talk with Kevin about Marcus a little more going forward this season. All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. Philip Pilkington will rejoin us. We're going to take a look around the American, look at ECU's opponents, see what the conference title race is looking like. Army's already 5-0 in the conference. ECU has played 2 league games. Army's played 5. They have a chance to get to 6-0 this weekend against East Carolina. We'll discuss what are their odds in making the championship and more on Hoist the Colors on Wednesday.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Hey Glenn, let's talk about a new program at Greenville Nissan.
Sure, sometimes bad things happen to good people, like credit hiccups.
Greenville Nissan just rolled out credit forgiveness.
If you've been making consistent car payments and you're tired of that high interest rate, this program is for you.
Get into a new Nissan with a manageable payment and keep that cash in the bank.
Come visit us at Greenville Nissan and drive your Nissan home today.
Hurry, this program ends September 3rd. Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arr!
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
The Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes, that was so good!
94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Appreciate Kevin Monroe. Always enjoy talking to Kevin. And we'll do that every Wednesday throughout the remainder of the football season. We were talking during the break, and, you know, we can discuss it on there. Working behind the scenes on something with Coach Logan and maybe a special with Hoist the Colors, maybe Patrick Johnson show also involved. So let us know in the comments section. You produced the Logan Zone, Philip. So we've had Logan on the show back when I first started. I think it'd make for a good show if we had some fan interaction. Obviously, there's callers on his show, but if we put out ahead of time that we were going to get him on for a 1-2 hour special, whatever it may be, going to go down memory lane, I think people would enjoy that.
Yeah, I think so. And, if you had the questions already preempted, I wouldn't have to be texting him to interrupt what he's talking about and then him having to backtrack and all that. So I think that'd be a little more fun. People get have a little more time to think about their questions as opposed to just coming up with something off the fly in their car, something maybe they've always wanted to ask Coach. Like I said, still in the works. We're not 100% sure how it's going to go, but sounds like there could be a fun little special coming around the holidays that could be maybe you, me, Logan, or like you said, Patrick might be involved. So we'll see how it goes.
Let us know if you want to hear that, and if so, we'll try and work to make it happen and let you know how you can get your questions in. All right, let's take a look around the American, and obviously with ECU having a bye week, they're still 1-1 in the league, still in the hunt for the conference championship, Philip.
Oh, you only got one conference loss? Of course you're still in the hunt.
They are as of right now, ECU is tied for 6th place. And look, if they win, I'll say this, all right, if they beat Army, then we'll seriously have a conversation. But until then, we'll just mention that. Army is 5-0. It's just weird with them being 5-0. And let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams have only played 2 conference games. You've got 2 with 3 conference games, or 3 with 3 conference games, 11 with 2. and then Army has played 5. I don't know if that math checks out, but that's what I did on top of my head. It's just, they're already almost in a spot where they can clinch a spot in the championship game. Obviously, they've got ECU this weekend, then they have a bye, Air Force, so they won't play their 7th conference game until North Texas on November 9th, but you start to look at scenarios if you're Army, if you beat ECU, of clinching a spot, Philip, I think, for the conference title.
Yeah, you do. But the tough thing is we say that, but what happens if there's 3 teams with 1 loss? And this is something we've talked about in this conference. It's just kind of the ongoing conversation. We've talked about it a lot, especially like when I'm looking at like the Big 12, and what happens if Iowa State, Kansas State, and BYU all have 1 conference loss. It's very, very possible, right? So that is the one thing, and they don't play UTSA until what is the last week of the normal
30th.
regular season. Yeah, November 30th, so the week that we're playing Navy. Now, the weird thing about that game is they got that Saturday game at noon against UTSA. We're playing early against Navy. I thought that was the way for the conference to, go on ESPN and say, hey, look at this. We've got the a potential for Navy to make the conference championship game and play Army. So I kind of thought that Army UTSA game would get slotted in that second window because the American has 2 windows that week. They have us at noon, and then I think, maybe they've only got 1 this year. I was thinking, I'm looking at the schedule here. In the past, there's been 2, right? That'll get moved up to Friday.
Yeah.
Well, Thursday night is Memphis and Tulane. That's Thanksgiving night. But everybody else is saying TBD on Saturday the 30th, so I guess there's only 1 game this year. The point I was just about to make is completely irrelevant, and I'm sorry for wasting everyone's time.
Well, it's also one of those things, and I don't know how the exact contract works, but CBS Sports Network has the majority rights to home games for Army Navy. I want to say that ESPN gets 1 of those home games a year, and in this case, they get ECU at Army. And I'd have to check Navy's schedule. But I want to say like 1 of the home games at a service academy per each school gets to be a ESPN broadcast versus CBS Sports Network, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's got to be it can't be like the Air Force game or anything like that.
Yeah, so we knew like in the preseason that the Army ECU game, for whatever reason, was selected, probably because it was the most attractive Army home game in the conference for ESPN outside of the service academies where they made that decision. And I'm trying to look at Navy's schedule to see if they have 1. But regardless, that is your case. Yeah, so Tulane at Navy, also an ESPN game, and then the rest are on CBS Sports Network. So, yeah, ESPN basically gets to pick 1 home game per academy for their TV contract, and the rest go on CBS Sports Network. Gotta love the TV stuff, Philip. It makes things tricky, but that's your case with the Army and Navy. All right, so you've got Army 5-0, and you also have Navy 3-0 in the conference. You've got 3 other unbeaten teams. North Texas is 2-0, Tulane 2-0, Charlotte is 2-0. And if you're Charlotte, if you go to Navy this weekend and win, all of a sudden you're a team that could be in the picture. Now, Charlotte has a ridiculous schedule remaining. They may not win another game. We broke this down last week. At Navy, at Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, at FAU, UAB. So, I mean, they'll probably beat UAB. FAU's beatable, but they're going to have a tough time getting 5-6 wins.
Yeah, they are. See, they're at 3 right now. They beat ECU, Rice, and Gardner-Webb. South Florida still hasn't got it figured out yet.
Yeah, and they lost their quarterback to injury.
Yeah. So Charlotte's best path to a bowl game is South Florida, FAU, UAB.
Yeah, which
But-
they had to win 3 in a row.
Yeah. I don't see them making the conference championship because I think they at least lose the next 3 weeks, doing at Navy, at Memphis, and home against Tulane. Is that right? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, at Navy, at Memphis, Tulane.
Yeah, so that takes them out of the conference championship picture right there. North Texas, their defense is bad, but every team that made the Big 12 championship game from like 2012 to like 2018 had a bad defense and just scored like 65 points a game, and that's kind of what they do. Now they do have to play Army, at Army, right?
Yeah, so their next 3 weeks, they actually get Army at home, but at Memphis this weekend.
Yep.
Tulane at home, Army at home, and then at UTSA, then ECU at home.
Ooh, Memphis, North Texas. That is a big game.
That's a big game.
Yeah, when you really think about what the conference will look like moving forward, 7:30 ESPNU. That, because you mentioned both those are, well, no, sorry, Memphis does have a conference loss. They lost at Navy, but I still think they're very much in the picture. They do have a tough schedule. They still have to go to South Florida. They've got to go to Tulane. They've got to go to UTSA. But look, if they can run the table, they're another team. You know, we mentioned there could be a handful of teams with one loss. I don't know how the tiebreakers are going to work, but, you know, does Memphis get in this thing? I mean, Memphis was the favorite at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and you look at their schedule, it's, I would say, favorable compared to the other conference title contenders. They have North Texas at home. If they win that game, then they get Charlotte at home. They go to UTSA, which is struggling. Rice at home. They're going to be favored. UAB at home, they're going to be favored. And then they would close at Tulane.
So Did they already go to South Florida then?
Yeah, they won 21-3 this past week.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're going to be favored in every game except maybe Tulane.
Yeah. Tulane's finally putting it together. They're dangerous.
Yeah, Tulane is a good squad. And I think they also have a challenging schedule. They have Rice this weekend, should be a win. At North Texas, you know, they'll be favored, but it'll be a toss-up game to a degree. At Charlotte on a Thursday night, short week. They have back-to-back road games. That'll be tough, but they'll be favored in that game. Temple at home, obviously that's a win. At Navy, and then Memphis. So, you know, the Americans just got too many teams. I'm just going to say that.
Every conference has too many teams.
Yeah, this is true. But, I mean, it's still wide open. It's still early is what I gather as I'm, like, talking myself through this as we talk. And I would say, honestly, Army, Navy, North Texas, Tulane, and Memphis all have a legit shot to make the title game.
Yeah.
ECU, if they beat Army, I'll put them in that conversation. But I'm not putting them in there right now.
Yeah, North Texas has a tough road because they still have to go to Memphis. But if they pull off the upset this week, yeah, Army's going to be tough, and they get Tulane at home. But if they pull off the upset this week, as long as they win one of those two games, I think you put North Texas in the conversation if they beat Memphis this week. Because if they can go 1-1 in those two tough games, then they're very likely a one-loss team because the rest of their schedule is not tough either.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if North Texas wins at Memphis, they are legit. They're a legit team.
But then Memphis would be out because Memphis would have two losses already.
Memphis would be
So
out.
I think the winner of that game, Tulane, Navy for sure, Army for sure, and then ECU if ECU beats Army.
Yep.
Are your contenders.
There is your American standings report. Around the American this week, you've got ECU Army, you got Tulsa Temple. Man, nothing gets the blood going quite like Tulsa Temple meeting in football. Charlotte, Navy, UAB at South Florida. How about South Florida 2-4, 0-2 in the American? They were getting all this buzz about being a potential playoff team. So much for that. They have really struggled.
Gosh, they're playing UAB. UAB's bad.
Yeah, that's a
I
terrible
thought
game.
UAB was going to be like middle of the pack.
Just an awful game. Trent Dilfer's got to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, he does.
FAU at UTSA, 0-2 in the American. Both teams 2-4. This is kind of like a loser is done match, in my opinion. Like if you lose this game, if you're FAU or UTSA, I think your season you start to look ahead to next year for sure. The winner though has something to play for.
Jeff Traylor ain't losing that game at home.
I agree. UTSA is a 3.5-point favorite, and then Rice at Tulane. Tulane big favorites, 21.5-point spread, and then Memphis a 10-point favorite against North Texas. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll talk about some playoff baseball. I mentioned Monday.
And we have to pick one NFL game today,
We do have to pick the Denver Broncos football game. And we get to talk about I made my decision on attending Mets-Dodgers Game 5 of the NLCS. We'll discuss that and more after the break. This is Hoist the Colors.
We're down to the final days of our summer sales event at Greenville Toyota.
Lease new RAV4s, $319 a month. Test drive the redesigned 2025 Camry, all with our advantage.
It's your last chance to save at Greenville Toyota.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience.
Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Hey, on the mountain we've got a saying. Get off your...
Show off. Mountain Dew.
Summer is here and Sawyer's Fun Park is having a toddler summer special. From 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, Sawyer's has a $10 2-hour unlimited pass for ages 2 to 4. That's one toddler and one parent for just $10 every weekday morning. Sawyer's Fun Park summer hours are Monday through Thursday from 10 to 8, Fridays and Saturdays from 10 to 9, and Sundays from 12 to 8. Book your tickets online at SawyersFunPark.com and beat the heat this summer at Sawyer's Fun Park.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves Tiebreakers.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Hurry, the summer savings event is coming to an end. Don't miss your chance.
Enjoy your summer in a new Corolla for just $219 a month or a Highlander for only $399 a month. Got a trade? Get cash for it or trade for a new Toyota.
Hurry in to Greenville Toyota today.
Here there be pirates. Back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and I go. How good is this on 94.3 The Game?
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here. Philip Pilkin and producing. We talked to Kevin Monroe earlier. As always, check it out. The podcast, Hoist the Colors, 94.3 The Game, is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and X if you missed any of it. All right. So Monday's show, I mentioned that I was looking into going to Dodgers-Mets Friday night at Citi Field. I get to New York around 1 o'clock, staying above the city, in between West Point and the city. So I was trying to figure out how to play that. You know, the game is scheduled Friday night at 5. The tickets at that time, Philip, were around $400 for standing room only. This was Monday. I checked on Tuesday as I was about to come to the show and saw that new tickets had been released for standing room only, down to $250. So I went ahead and bit the bullet. I purchased the ticket. And the plan is to be in attendance. Now, I will say if something happens with travel, I might end up selling it, but I'll be able to make the majority of the money back, I think. So that's why I went ahead and bought it.
Especially if they're up 3-1. I don't think they will be, but if they are, you'll definitely be able to make majority back. If not, turn a huge profit.
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of those things. I feel like it's a good investment. It's kind of two birds with one stone. I'm one of those guys. I think you're this way. You want to try to get to as many ballparks in your life as possible.
Yeah.
Never been to Citi Field. I'm already going to be in New York for the ECU Army game. I don't really do anything the night before a game other than, like, go to a local watering hole. I could check out West Point Friday night, but I might as well just do that Saturday. So that's the plan. Now I just have to figure out how to get from my Airbnb in more upstate New York down to the city. But there's enough public transportation there. We'll make it happen. So I'm really hoping to see either 2-2 or 3-1 Mets, so Citi Field is going crazy.
Yeah, I hope so for your sake as well. And, I hate that the team is not getting until about 3 o'clock, so our friend Brian Meador, who's a Dodgers fan, is unable to make the game. I know he wanted to make it. I was talking to him yesterday. He can't, but I'm happy for you. Will this be your first MLB playoff game?
This will be my first MLB playoff game.
Oh, I'm pumped for you, man. There's nothing like I've attended NHL, NFL, NBA, and MLB playoff games. MLB by far is the best. Yes, the Kane fans are going to be mad at me going, oh, our place is the most rocking. Kane's playoff games are hype, but MLB takes the crown for sure.
I've been to an NFL playoff game. I went to Panthers-Cowboys wild card round the year they made the Super Bowl.
2003, or January 3rd, 2004, but 2003 season.
Yeah, and that was a blast. I was 11 years old at that time. I think that's the only NFL playoff game I've been to.
Wait, I thought you were covering the Panthers in 2015.
I did cover the divisional round.
Against the Seahawks?
Yeah. So that would be – but as a fan, that would be the one. You know, you're so secluded, and their press box is kind of soundproof, but it was crazy.
Oh, you didn't get to well, not that you would have got to totally experience it, but you didn't get to go to the NFC Championship
I did
game?
not. I was watching that one on TV.
That one was a fun atmosphere, but like you said, when you're in the press box, it's kind of – it was so fun. We were like – it snowed the day before. We were having like snowball fights in the parking lot while we were watching the Denver-New England game. It was fun.
Playoff atmospheres are the best. William Landis says no media credential for Mets Dodgers. I couldn't pull it off. There's no ECU tie. So, I mean, I've gone to MLB game. I went to Giants Mariners, interviewed Chris Heston, and used that media credential to go watch the Mariners in the stands for free. But I don't have an angle here.
Also, NLCS Game 5, it's gonna be tough. Even if you did have an ECU tie,
I know.
There was an ECU tie.
If I was going to Guardians Yankees and had Gavin Williams, maybe I could have pulled it off. But they're in Cleveland that day. All right, so there's your update. Appreciate it to Ryan, by the way, who's a Queens, used to live in Queens. He gave me some good info on where to go, where to eat. I know he watches the show sometimes. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon. We'll see you then.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the